There is very efficient but critical altitude for an airplane to fly, the so-called coffin corner in aviation. Flying at the high altitude of the coffin corner is very efficient because basically it's easier to go fast when you don't have a lot of air to push out of your way. However, flying in the coffin corner can be very risky and sometimes deadly. Any small change, such as an atmospheric turbulence, lowers the flight stability and the pilot's flexibility to react to changes. The coffin corner is maybe today the perfect metaphor for leadership in the 21st century. It is a threatening reality for most organizations and even countries. Unfortunately, most leaders aren't aware of it, and they don't realize the risk they're taking until it's too late. Nokia, Kodak, Panam, BlackBerry, even Yahoo. All these companies were once extremely successful, and at some point we thought they will always be there. Surely most of you have a memory or a connection to one of them, maybe your first cell phone or your first search in the internet. Believe me, when I went online for the very first time, I thought Yahoo was the internet. All these companies stood once for innovative thinking and the courage to be a pioneer. But where are they now? They either went out of business or lost their edge. Consequently, millions of people lost their jobs. Imagine you gave your heart and soul, together with countless life hours, working for one of the most innovative companies in the world, until your management comes and tells you, sorry, it's over. Yes, we were once ahead of our time, but somehow we dropped behind, and I can't even tell you exactly when or how it happened. So how is that possible? Why did these organizations fail? Because they flew into the coffin corner. Organizations tend to optimize their business by planning and controlling as much as possible. They do it in a way I call the railway thinking. They set up a goal, they develop a roadmap, and they do everything to stay on track, straight like a railroad. I mean, for quite some time, Nokia, Kodak, and all the others were very successful using the railway thinking, especially earlier when inventions took a very long time to come to market. Today, the world is constantly changed by new inventions. I mean, it takes only one app to make a whole industry no longer relevant. And the reaction to these new inventions is faster. Remember, it took 38 years for 50 million people to have a radio, but only 4 years for the same number of people to have access to the internet. And not only markets are changing, actually the whole world is. Let's take the self-immolation of a street vendor in December in 2010 in Tunisia. It was the trigger for the fall of a whole political system. Or, I'm sure, no energy provider in Germany dreamt of that after a nuclear meltdown happens in Japan, Germany decides overnight to phase out nuclear energy. All these changes, they're not steady anymore. They become unpredictable. A single idea or even social behavior can spread exponentially like wildfire. So, what can organizations do? What can leaders do? Not to fly into the coffin corner, or to get out of it as fast and as quickly as possible. The answer lies in the pomegranate. Picture a pomegranate for a moment. A pomegranate has no core. It has many independent pips that are equal and connected. The pomegranate thinking stands for the diversity of options. There is no such thing as one single way to success, but many ways. And actually, you can adapt and change quickly according to the circumstances. I'm sure you've never seen such a chaotic fruit as a pomegranate from the inside, and yet it's extremely healthy and yummy. So if you tell me, explain to me exactly how to implement the pomegranate thinking in leading in a complex world, I will tell you I can't. This is not an excuse for poor preparation of this talk, by the way. Yeah? It's just there is no such thing as a single way how to do it. Instead, I invite you to discover the power of pomegranate thinking by listening to some stories. Years ago, I was coaching a top leadership team, a very diverse senior team, from a multinational oil and gas company that suffered severe interpersonal conflict. Two of the top leaders, one US American, one Yemeni, couldn't bear each other and worked actively against each other, and the whole company suffered from that. After some introductory workshop, my colleague and I found out that actually solving this problem through more confrontation is counterproductive. So he set us all in a circle, put some emotional pictures, toys, symbols in the middle of the circle, and asked each of us to pick up a symbol and to share a traumatic experience in our life and how that transformed us. And the purpose of exploring a topic metaphorically is that these metaphors have voices of their own that are neither the voice of the participant nor of the facilitator, and they allow to explore a truth, let's say, at a speed and depth that we can handle. My South African colleague started by sharing his own very genuine personal experience of fighting discrimination during apartheid. His example encouraged all of us to share. Now came the turn of the US leader who told the team how years ago his wife was kidnapped and abused back home, and how after months of desperation, they were reunited. After his moving disclosure, there was a long pause. And then, his long-term adversary, the Yemeni leader, walked up to him and took him into his arms. And you could see how one tear was dropping each of the men's cheeks. And in that breakthrough moment, all the hate, all the distrust, all the competition were gone. Over the next 18 months, not only the performance of the top leadership team improved dramatically, but that of the organization. Sounds too simplistic and surreal, maybe like a fairy tale ending? Trust me, it's not only absolutely true, but enabling magic moment that transform organizations is the reason why my colleague and I go every day to work. Years later, as a Minister of Tourism in Tunisia, I tried to bring forward example from successful pomegranate thinking into the public leadership arena. Here are two stories. The first one happened while preparing the Ghriba pilgrimage. In the south of Tunisia stands the Ghriba synagogue, one of the oldest in the world. And every year during Passover, Jews undertake a pilgrimage. I had that crazy dream to recreate a 21st century convivencia during that pilgrimage. Convivencia is the time between 711 and 1492, the golden age of Islamic governance in Spain, where Muslim, Jews, and Christians lived in peace and created a vibrant, creative society. I thought that if we succeeded in bringing Jews from all over the world, including from Israel, that somehow encounters between human beings will happen that will change people's attitudes and maybe even identity. After many years as an executive coach and myself living as a minority in Germany and elsewhere, I was carried away by the idea that once you have truly seen a human being as a human being, you can never again dehumanize him as an enemy. Surprisingly, some people didn't like that idea. Actually, many people didn't like that idea at all. I was confronted with death threats. My children had to leave the country. And from that time on until the end of my mission, I had to live 24/7 surrounded by bodyguards, even when I went to sleep. And I had to go through a non-confidence vote in the parliament, the first in the history of the country. We sat there for 13 hours in an endless interrogation in front of live TV cameras. Every word, every movement of our face was observed by millions. But we did not falter. With the help of the whole government and of thousands, actually hundreds of thousands in social media, we did not only pass the confidence vote, but actually many peoples from all over the world came to the pilgrimage, Muslims, Jews, and Christians. Individuals with endless backgrounds, faiths, and cultures met there as a human being, without hate, without fear, without prejudices. The second story happened actually while we were trying to attract the world's attention to Tunisia to enhance tourism. We dreamt of organizing a big event with millions of visitors, but basically we couldn't afford it. At the same time, Moses Spa, which is a film location of part of the Star Wars saga, was threatened to be swallowed by sand dunes in the next 2 months. So some young people in my team came with an incredible idea. At that time, the song Happy from Pharrell Williams, even the video went viral, and everyone in the world was shooting happy videos with people dancing on the street. So they come up with the idea that we should produce our own happy video, but with a very special twist. We cooperated with the Star Wars fan club in Tunis, who dressed up as Star Wars characters, and the video went within very few days extremely viral, and Pharrell Williams himself actually shared it. The whole action of crowdfunding attracted international social and print media, and with a budget of just over 2,000 euros, we had a media reach of almost 500 million people from New Zealand to Alaska. These young people not only managed to save the site as a cultural heritage for Tunisia, but actually through the transformative use of social media, redefined what a mega event is. The transformative use of social media, you can even see it today in Germany and elsewhere in Europe during this refugee crisis. You can see on one side railway thinking from officials who refuse donations of mattresses and tents and rather leave refugees sleep on the cold ground because exactly those donations do not fit current legislation. And this is confronted with pomegranate thinking of citizens who for over 2 weeks in another European city take care of hundreds of refugees without any professional support or infrastructure, just reunited by the purpose that these people need their help right now. They communicate via social media, they organize timetables, they check required donations, and there is no hierarchy, there is no leader, but self-organized team that know that these people are fleeing war, terror, and death, and that their role is to take care of them. So now, after listening to these stories, you still don't know how actually to implement pomegranate thinking in your leading, then I've been successful. Although there are many self-help books and how-to-do manuals about leadership today, I think there is no such thing as knowing exactly and how to do manuals. Pomegranate thinking, or leading the pomegranate way, means actually creating spaces and building bridges where people can open up, be authentic, and be human. It means staying true to oneself and own values, even if you are pushed beyond personal limits. It means asking yourself constantly, what is my purpose? And the challenging question of why and for whom I'm doing what I'm doing. It means embracing the power of social media and self-organized teams. And maybe it means also embracing diversity, even if it means thriving on contradiction and being courageous and doing every day something something that scares you. I invite you to incorporate such elements in your way of leading. I invite you to discover your own art of leading in a complex world. Thank you.